Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to our weekly recap video. So today is extremely windy. We're having 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts, and wind, you guys, is the worst thing to me, the worst. Like, I could handle the winter with 52 inches of snow, but wind, it just sets my teeth on edge, and I'm watching all of my plants just like bend over under those big gusts that keep coming through. My poor sunflowers. Oh, it's like you get all of your stuff looking really pretty and then something like that happens. And I know I shouldn't complain because I just watched a video. Where was that, Aaron? Iowa? You sent me that video?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Can't remember where it was.
It was like watching fire. I mean, I don't know how long that video was, but I had like a running commentary to you because it was like so triggering to me to watch the wind
I'll post a little
and the rain. It was just, and the trees coming apart. So anyway, I know I need to like always step back and have a little bit of perspective. So I'm trying to be in a good mood about the wind today. So let's just jump right into well, let's not jump right in. We hit 1 million.
Yeah.
We hit 1 million subscribers on YouTube yesterday morning, which is insane to me. When somebody asked me, and I think I put this in my post because I did like a yay post yesterday morning. When we started our channel, somebody asked me what my goal was by starting a YouTube channel. And really, like, to be honest, I didn't start the YouTube channel, Aaron did, and I did it for Aaron because he was interested in trying. He needed somebody and something to film, so I was like, well, I guess I'll do it. And yeah, it was a little bit rocky in the beginning in terms of, like, I don't know, I think we've both come quite a distance since then. We've learned a lot. So I didn't have any goal, honestly, when we started. I was just like, I don't know, like, let's just make it a year and still be married and, you know, that kind of thing. And so I thought about it, though, for a second, and I thought, you know what, it would be really cool if we had 1,000 subs. Like, oh my gosh, if we had 1,000 people that subscribe to our channel, that would be the big time. Like, I couldn't even imagine that. And then when we hit that number, I kind of started thinking, like, what if we had the same amount of people that live in my town, which was 11,000? Like, what if we had as many subscribers, like more subscribers than actually live in my hometown? That would be crazy. So it's just insane to me that we made it to 1 million. I think that's always been kind of in Aaron's mind. But to me, none of that has ever been in my mind. It really isn't truly about numbers for me. I mean, definitely it is what helps keep you going at times. You know, I guess.
It didn't keep us going for the first year, though.
No, because we got no numbers. We got like pity numbers from our friends and family, I think mostly. But anyway, it's been, somebody trying to call me. Sorry, hold on, let me turn this off.
I think for the first year we were averaging between like 1 and 2 subscribers a day.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
But you start to think about the long term of that, and you think like, okay, so 5 years of getting 1 or 2 subscribers a day.
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, so after 5 years, how much are we gonna have?
Like, not very many.
Couple thousand people.
Yeah, and would that be worth it, you know, versus the time we were putting into it? Because, you know, Aaron and I worked full-time jobs for the first 2 years we had a YouTube channel. And we, like, our goal, and when we set out, Aaron was kind of the driving force, but it was like, once we start, we have to be consistent. There's no waffling because that happens a lot. Somebody starts out and they think it's going to be easy or it's going to be really fun, and it is fun. It's sometimes easy, but it is a tremendous amount of work, and it takes a tremendous amount of like willpower and perseverance and vulnerability, and being able to take hate and opinions and all kinds of stuff like that. And the more numbers you get, the more you receive of those things, but the more positive you receive too. So I don't know, that was the thing. I kind of forget where I was going, but we had a goal, like, once we start, if we're going to do a video every other week, we're going to stick to that. And I think that's what it was, a video every other week. And then we did very quickly 1 video a week. Mm-hmm. Then we went to 2 videos per week, which was like, when we were working full time, we were working every single weekend and a lot of evenings and lunch hours trying to get things done and pictures. We used to watermark all of our pictures, and that was a huge process. And so, I don't know, there was just a lot of details, and we didn't have any help at the time. So 2 years in was when you went full-time YouTube first. I still worked at the garden center for 2 days a week for the first little bit. And then I got pregnant, and then I just slowly phased myself out of the garden center. I didn't even talk to my parents about it. It's I just quit going to work. I remember my dad asking me, like, "Hey, so are you going to come to work next month?" Or and I was like, no, I don't think so. I got to a point where I thought, it's YouTube. We're going to be parents. and I still have this garden center thing, like something has to give. So we just decided to go all in with YouTube, and it's worked out really great. And you guys are awesome, and we couldn't obviously be here without you. So we like truly appreciate all the support and watching our videos and all that. So anyway, all that said, we can jump into the videos from this last week. So the first one was the mini garden tour behind our gazebo, and I just thought everything was looking kind of pretty back there. It seems like we have a lot of late summer bloomers, and the layering's pretty, so I thought we should get out there and give it a quick look. Carol said, "You are the cutest out of breath gal I know." Well, glad to hear that, because I'm out of breath all the time. Like, I'm out of breath just talking, not even moving. Gotta catch my breath real quick. Pregnancy really takes it out of you, you guys. I'm like constantly out of breath. Questions if I could. Can you prune the purple smoke bush every year with a rejuvenation prune? I would not, just because when you continually cut a woody shrub down, it will create very weak stems in the end. So you really want to choose things that will get to the size that you have space for, if that makes sense. So if you have a spot that's 4x4, don't choose something that gets 8x8. You know, and then it'll be less work for you. It'll be better for the plant. It's not a bad idea to do a rejuvenation prune like every once in a while. And usually I only do it if something is like going to either be pulled out, or I'm going to rejuvenation prune it and see what happens. Or if something's just like leggy, tired, it needs some rejuvenation after several years in the garden. Then we'll do a full cut back, see what happens. Sometimes you win and sometimes you lose with that though. So keep that in mind. What vine is dancing magically above the path on the pergola? That is a Virginia creeper, and I think that there are lots of you guys that it's like invasive in your state. It is kind of an invasive vine here. It's not like termed an invasive. We sell it here. Lots of people buy it because it's a wonderful ground cover and climber. Has beautiful fall color and beautiful berries. It's really easy to keep in check here. I mean, you can just, I've got it like all over it's climbing up an old lilac right where I can see it. And if I don't want it in a spot, I just kind of pull on it and it just comes out easier than some of our weeds. So I really like it. Ivy said, "I'd like to ask you one question. What is it about red that you don't really like?" I think it's not the red itself I don't like. I love red colored leaves and stems and things like that. But when you have a red flower, it fights with my other colors. I usually go for a more soft color palette. So pinks, coral, purple, light yellow, white. Anyway, colors like that. When you put a red in there, all of a sudden the red is just like, ah, look at me. And everything else takes a back seat, and it just kind of fights that way. It doesn't they don't cohabitate really nicely together. Ravish says, who's that walking at 12:13, Laura? Got scared. That was Trisha. So a lot of you guys know, and a lot of you ask how we keep up on garden work and house cleaning and all of that. Early on in Aaron and my marriage, we realized that the only thing we ever disagreed about and kind of fought about was house cleaning, because we have different standards. I want a really good clean done every week. Aaron's like, every 3 weeks would be good for me. So we decided that instead of having that one contentious thing, that we would budget to have help cleaning the house. And we've had the same gal, that's Trisha that you saw walking in the background. We've had the same gal for lots of years, Aaron. Like, what do you think, like 11 years at least?
Yeah, maybe.
We've been married for 14 this month, 14 years on the 23rd. Yeah, so she is awesome. She knows us really well. Like, she probably knows where stuff in my house is better than I do. And I trust her, like, is it implicitly? Is that the right word? Define implicitly. Yes, absolutely. Without qualification, absolutely. I think that is right. Linda said, "What is the color of gravel you are standing on in this video?" That is a 3/4 chip gravel in the color, they call it blue. And I don't think we've been able to match that exact gravel. They can find it in charcoal, which is closest. I like gravel that doesn't have the brown and orange undertone. I want it to look more gray and blue because it's a cooler tone. And in our area, it's so hot and dry all the time that if you can kind of combat that heat with something with a cool tone of color, and maybe that's why I like the cool colors in my garden rather than reds and oranges and things that are really hot colored, because I just need something to help like visually bring the temperature down. Ethan Beat said, "2 things I've never seen in your videos are rhodies and azaleas. Do you not care for those two?" No, I like those two. They just don't grow here. We don't have acidic enough soil, and they typically winter kill in our area. Helen Heel said, "How do you contend with pollinating bees all over your flowers when you need to work on them?" I just work on them. Bees, I swear, it's like they know if you're not there to hurt them, they just leave you alone. I mean, I just plow through plants whenever I need to work on them, and like rarely, knock on wood, get stung. Next video is bean, carrot, and tomato harvest. I had some stuff that needed to be harvested. Red noodle beans on Benjamin's trellis. I had carrots in the garden that were like way past their prime, and tons of tomatoes to pick. So Christy said, I've been dealing with a horrible amount of hornworms on both my tomatoes and peppers this year. I've been using a black light flashlight at night to try to stay on top of them. Do you deal with them on your crops? No. I'm wondering if I should start spraying BT as a preventative. I mean, that seems like the most benign thing that you can do in terms of taking care of them, because BT usually targets just caterpillars and things like that. And so the hornworm would need to ingest something that has been sprayed with that, and then it kind of just kills them from the inside. I don't know a ton about hornworm preventative because I've never had one in my garden before. I know that they're in our area lightly. We don't have a huge bad population of them. I've not had a single pest on our tomatoes this year. I think in our new space, which is being ravished by wind right now, I think they just haven't found our space yet. Ginger said, loved your garden answer wooden crate. Did you make it? No, that was actually sent to us by Gilmore. That's the hose brand. They've got like hose end attachments and hoses. Do they have other stuff, Aaron? You've got like, Gilmore's just like hoses.
Yep.
Yeah. They carry my favorite hose, which is a Super Duty 5/8 inch gray hose. I really like it. I like the gray hose. I don't think I'll ever go back to a color like a green or a blue colored hose. They just disappear in the garden, which is what you want out of like practical stuff like that. You don't want to say like, oh my goodness, there's a pink hose in your garden. I mean, you don't want it to, well, I don't want it to show up in my garden. Anyway, they sent that out with it's like an herb kit. I meant to grow herbs in it. They sent out like the liner and the herb seeds, but I thought it would make for a really cute harvest tub. And so that's probably how I'm going to use it. Sue Ann said, how are you planning to store all those tomatoes? So we ate, like I saved a little tray. I think, do we put a picture in the end, or?
Sure.
I think I put a picture on Facebook or Instagram. We can throw it on the screen, but I packaged most of them up. We took them down to the food bank. I saved a little crate, and so I stood up and I took a picture of the whole back of the gator to kind of show what we saved versus what we donated. And then we actually had some friends of ours come this morning, because we were driving by them last night, and I thought, oh, they're loaded up again. And so they came this morning and harvested everything that was out there, because she likes to can, and I just don't have time or the patience, I guess, to do that right now. So we just find homes for all the stuff that we can't use, except for zucchini. Most of the zucchini, well, the zucchini goes to the chickens, but I don't know what possessed me to put in 3 zucchini plants in July. I planted those as a late summer harvest kind of crop, and they're already up, like producing these big, massive zucchinis already. I just thought that it would take them so long to kind of grow and get to a point where they would produce that I would only like have a short window to produce or to harvest them. So that's why I put 3 in. That's what possessed me. Elsa said, why do tomatoes crack? It's typically a water problem. Like they've either been given too much water, like after they've been dry for a period of time, and it causes just any kind of fluctuation of water temperature like that can cause them to crack. And I'm dealing with that a little bit, mostly on my Cherokee purples. That has been probably the most susceptible to kind of anything that's going wrong. So I'm going to probably, my favorite one out there is Goldie. Goldie and heirloom tomato. I mean, the biggest steak kind of tomatoes ever. We've had them several times with just basil and balsamic. We put fresh mozzarella and basil and balsamic on them the other night, and they're just so tasty. And that is one heirloom that I'm just like, I have to grow that one again. Next video is 5 super fast crops for fall harvest. So I was filling up most of my vegetable garden beds, my raised beds in the vegetable garden, in my first vegetable garden. I've got stuff spread just everywhere. Like I call this a cut flower garden, and it's kind of like half cut flowers and half vegetables, and I think that's probably how it will always be. But I planted radishes, lettuce, kale, green onions, and spinach. 5 plants that you can put in this time of year, and you will have harvest. In fact, you could probably plant them several times depending on your area. For us, I could probably do 2 or 3 crops in succession and harvest those all before we get a hard frost. S.E. Hull said, I'm anxiously waiting on your spider mite video. I think my morning glories have it. I went to Bonnet website and they recommended Rose RX. What are you planning on using? I actually talked with Bonnet. Have a call in with them this week. We are doing that like very soon. I meant to do it this last week, and we should have, based on the spider mite population. But I asked him, like, I need to take care of this problem. And honestly, this is one area I don't care if I stay organic, because I'm not spraying edibles. I'm spraying boxwoods and I'm spraying hydrangeas for mites. And I want to use what's going to work and work quickly before it spreads to the rest of my stuff. Because once you get spider mites, like, it is so hard to eradicate them from your garden, and they are so damaging. So we're going to be using 3 different sprays. We're going to be doing it in a 3-week period, and then we're going to repeat that 3-week spray regimen. So it'll be a 6-week kind of program. So we will go over all of that in the video soon. Gardening from Scratch said, Laura, did you film the last few videos in one day? Go to your page, look at the thumbnail of the last 9 videos. Same shirt? Probably, because it's probably the only shirt that fits me right now, like that I feel comfortable in, that's like baggy enough but light enough because it's still hot out. Just wear like the same 2 shirts over and over and over again. It's gonna be like that for like the next while. Brace yourself. Either you're a video boss, which I don't doubt, or you really love that shirt. Kim said, spreading compost such as land and sea is typically done during planting. Would it be beneficial to apply this to my garden after fall cleanup so that it has the winter to break down and infuse into the existing soil? Or should I wait till spring when new growth emerges? Boy, I think you could do either one. I think either one is a good idea. This fall, I won't be doing land and sea. I'll just be doing that when I plant, because I'm going to do a bunch of leaf mulching. I think that, coupled with the land and sea and the biotone, all of those things have just made the soil so rich and made us like have really good success this year. And the leaf mulching is so easy, and it's such a good way to utilize all the stuff that's falling down from the trees. Janet said the dove sounds in the background are so calming. Isn't it weird that like I'm so used to them that I almost don't hear them? Do you even notice them, Aaron?
Not really, no.
I don't really notice that or the crickets really anymore. We've got crickets like super loud at night. Every once in a while I notice them and I'm like, dang, those are kind of loud. But most of the time it never even registers. Next question. Okay, that's awesome. Does working on YouTube give enough income to buy such a big home and continuously making huge projects? The short answer to that is yes. I mean, there are several different kind of revenue sources, I guess. YouTube is definitely the biggest one, but there's, YouTube, there's affiliate links, Facebook, partners that we work with. And how it works on YouTube is that, most of the revenue comes through ads that play on the video, and then a certain percentage comes through members. So you can become a member of the channel for $5 a month. I'm not sure what the number, how many members we have at this point, because I never talk about it. But I think it's quite a good sized group of people who pay that $5 a month to help support us. And really, we need to get better about the benefits that we offer them. Like right now, occasionally we'll post behind the scenes pictures, or we'll publish a video 24 hours in advance before it goes out to everybody else, so they have a chance to watch it first. So we have room to improve there big time. But like affiliate links, sometimes the links down below the video, sometimes not, they'll lead to like we get a tiny percentage of a purchase that's made off of one of those. And then the partners that we work with, we're very open about all the companies we work with, and we list them below every single video. Anything else, Aaron? Like,
that's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it. And I know that that's probably kind of an offensive question to some of you guys. I was raised that way. I was raised like, we don't talk about finances. We don't talk about politics to other people like this. Those are just things we don't bring up. Aaron's family was much more relaxed about stuff like that. Like they always talked about all those kinds of things. Yeah, it was very open. And I've kind of come more to that side just because I feel like in the end, what does it matter? I don't know. It's like our lives are such a tiny blip in the grand scheme of things. And it doesn't offend me at all that people ask that. And I think it's kind of something natural to wonder. I wonder that about some people. Like you see somebody who's doing something that you like admire or whatever, and you're like, how are they making that work? Mm-hmm. Like, I just really want to know how did they figure that out? Yeah. And so I don't think it's unacceptable to ask, especially when it's something like being a YouTuber, which seems like such an enigma. I don't think a lot of people understand how that works or how the revenue
It's such a new profession.
Yeah, it is. And it's not a stable one either. No. So I'm glad that there's like a few different on that list, like to kind of, you never know, like is the YouTube algorithm going to always favor a gardening channel? Like is it going to change and all of a sudden like go away? Or what if I get injured or whatever? Who knows? So anyway, it works out. Next video was our sunflower growing setup, and I wanted to make a sunflower arrangement utilizing some white night sunflowers, which are white with the dark centers. And while we were out there, we just thought, you know what, we should just really quick talk about how we set this whole sunflower area up. Super easy. It was actually the only spot in the garden, I didn't amend the soil a bit. I didn't put any compost or starter fertilizer. It was getting so late in the season. I just thought, I got to get these seeds in the ground. I can't mess around with anything else. And you know, come what may, of any crop that we put out there, sunflowers are probably the toughest in terms of soil adaptability and all that sort of thing. So I think it was kind of a good call of any of the crops we planted not to work on the soil there, and they're doing really great. So I just talked through all of those things, and we're using drip tape, which the reason why we use drip tape instead of drip tubing is because you can run a ton more drip tape versus drip tubing off of one single zone. Like I can have 2 of our big rectangles. In fact, I have the pumpkin tomato zone and the sunflower zone watering right now simultaneously. And we can do that even with the amount of drip tape we have running. I mean, I have 1,700 feet of sunflowers out there. That's a lot. There's a lot of drip tape. And it's a lot less expensive than regular drip. Anyway, so I just went through some of those things. Melissa said, we have heard you say you have a gopher problem in your new land, or you had one anyway. My husband is too shy to ask, so I will. How do you deal with getting rid of them? He's tried everything besides poison, which he does not want to use. We have a beloved dog. I get that. We don't poison any mice or anything like that because we have cats. And nothing has worked. You know what? We trapped them. We did not, I should say, our neighbor did. So our neighbor, he's a retired firefighter, grew up on a farm. He helped us burn all the whole field in the beginning. Like he is a firefighter, so he's like the perfect guy to be out there burning the weeds for us. He did all of that, and then he came over, and he was over here like 3 times a day. He'd ride his 4-wheeler over, he'd check all the traps, he set all the traps. I think, did he catch like 15 or something like that?
Quite a bit.
Yeah, so he ended up doing it just by being diligent and by setting traps. And I haven't noticed, have you noticed any gopher mounds? I haven't noticed a gopher mound at all out there. Now I haven't walked the entire field, but I haven't noticed anything. We had one mound kind of in the middle of the trapping process come up in one of our flower beds up here, but that's it for the whole season. I mean, I don't know. I hope that the problem's handled, but it was just like good old fashioned box traps. I don't know if that's what they call them, but they're like a little wood box. Yeah. Terry Byer said, is it possible the sunflowers are strong and able to withstand the winds because you did not use fertilizer? That's highly likely. I do think planting 2 seeds together may have helped. And you know, Erin and I were talking about like whether or not we should space them out differently next year. And I don't know, unless we plan on fashioning some sort of staking system. I think having them as close together as they are, they have leaned on one another for support. Like I'm looking out right now, I don't know how they're going to fare this wind today, but the only variety that has flopped is the white light, which white light was a beautiful sunflower. It did not last very long in flower, and it flopped. So I'm a little bit like, we'll see if I actually go to the trouble. I think I did order those seeds, so I will go to the trouble of at least planting those. And maybe if I stake them better, I'll enjoy them more. The other comment that I forgot to make was like the Pro Cut plums were the first sunflowers to come out and bloom, and they were beautiful. They did not last for very long either. And I don't know if like the hybrid ones just don't last as long, but I'm learning a little bit about all of these. Like I gathered some seeds off some no-name variety I grew last year in our garden. And it's the type that gets really tall and it's multi-branched, you know, yellow sunflowers, kind of classic, and they last forever. So I think there's a place, I guess, for both. But and then by not using fertilizer, there are some plants that if you over fertilize, like sedums and Russian sage, that's just one variety of Russian sage, and sunflowers, if they are in too rich a soil, they tend to want to flop. Carol said, what lens dirt? That's just your sparkle showing through. Off topic question, how are the new chickens doing? Yeah, so real quick, the lens is super dirty. We got our new camera, right, Erin? Erin actually ordered 2. We have to have a backup. You know, doing gardening videos and camera equipment, and I film myself so much of the time, it's just not a good mix. Me and cameras and dirt and equipment and wanting to get done quickly, they don't mix. So I oftentimes get dirt under the lens. And we've tried, did you try the vacuum? I thought I saw you trying the vacuum thing, and you couldn't get it out. And there's no weatherproof camera other than the GoPro, right? And even we have the Hero 8 or what, right? Anyway, the new chickens are doing great. We've got 4 chickens in there. I got 3 new ones, and then we had 1 existing one, and they all are like cohabitating beautifully. Everything's going well. I get 4 eggs every single day. Katie said, I love arrangements with this color scheme. Since we only see it in fast speed, how long does it take you to put something like this together? Well, that one took me a little bit longer. I would say that one was about a 20 to 30 minute arrangement because I had no frog in that vase. There was nothing help holding those stems in, and I don't know really quite what I was thinking because the opening of that vase was like 8 or 9 inches, and it takes a tremendous amount of stuff to have them start locking together in place. And when you've got really heavy sunflowers and heavy branches, they just want to like twist and go all over the place. So I was like gently weaving everything together and nothing ever moved, and I was able to move it inside without anything moving, which was like a miracle. So that one took me a little longer. The other arrangements usually take like the one I took pictures of it, but I had the picture of Cheddar and the mouse that came up onto the table. That arrangement took me about 10 minutes. The one I did before in a video, I think it had the Pro Cut Plum sunflowers. It was in like a brown urn. That one took about 10 or 15 minutes, but I had a frog in that vase. So if you can just like stick and go and they'll stick right where you want them to be, it's a lot quicker. Sally said, have you ever done flower arrangements for hospitals or homes for the elderly? If not, would you ever consider it? That was actually the plan this year. I've talked about it so many times in past videos this spring. Like, the goal is, if my space was successful, I wanted to cut flowers and I wanted to take them to nursing homes and hospitals. And so we actually we were planning on doing it, and then everything kind of happened with COVID, and so we were kind of like thinking, I wonder if they would still, like, I'm sure people would still want them. I don't know how that would work. Like, I need to contact them and see how the handoff would work and all of that business. But we actually had planned tomorrow to do a cut flower day. I had a couple people coming over, enough to where we could spread out outside and put some arrangements together to go then give them away. And because the wind is blowing so hard and tomorrow is supposed to still be blowing, I canceled the day, which is a kind of a bummer because everything is at its peak and I'm so worried that I'm going to miss it. But anyway, that is the goal. I really didn't have high hopes for this year just based on no knowledge of how anything was going to grow out there. But I was so thrilled that everything just kind of did it, that I still think we have the opportunity to do something like that. Okay, next video is things I'm excited about in my garden. That video was one we actually put together 3 or 4 weeks ago now. We put it together for the Grand Garden Show on Mackinac Island, which is for proven winners. It wasn't really kind of a proven winners event though this year. It was more put on by the Grand Hotel. Proven winners canceled the actual Grand Garden Show, but the hotel kind of wanted to keep something going, some kind of garden show of sorts. So all of us who were going to scheduled to be speakers there, we just put together a relaxed, casual presentation digitally and sent it over to them. And since, you guys, I don't know, I thought you guys might like to see it because I just talked about a lot of things that I'm excited about in my garden this year. So Lynette said, seeing the before and after at your old townhouse is shocking. I had no idea that you started with such a bare slate. When you filmed the tour when you were moving out of the garden, it felt so mature, like it had been there for decades. You added so many good bones to the space, and the yard looked larger too. What a treasure you left for the next owners to have such an oasis at their new home. That is a super sweet comment. Thank you. That was my first true learning space, because it was the first space that I got to make all the decisions. And when we moved in, it was all grass with just 2 small trees, and we immediately took those trees out, dug grass out, put in different trees, put in a fence. We did a lot of things. And back then, I was working on Sundays to pay for plants. I had a massive plant IOU because, how can you work at a garden center or not? So I had this running list in my mom's desk of things that I had bought, and then I would work holiday weekends or I'd volunteer to water whatever Sunday I could get my hands on to pay off my plant debt. But I learned a lot in that space. I also took home a lot of damaged or kind of dying things just to try them out. Sometimes I did well with them and sometimes I didn't. Boat Truck said, it's so weird to hear your family name sound so French and not from Garden Answer or how's it going? Yeah, so our last name, is it actually French, Le Boutier? Mm-hmm. What does it mean?
Either the beautiful or the bottle maker.
The beautiful or the bottle maker. Jill said, can you do a video of planting hydrangeas? Aaron laughs. We have a ton of video of planting hydrangeas. Just type in Garden Answer hydrangeas. Have fun. Janine said, I thought you did a wonderful job on this video. Thank you. I love the fountain in your old backyard. It would work well in my front yard. Do you remember where you bought it? Oh, Fiore Stone, maybe. It's not from Unique Stone or Henry. I don't think it's from Henry. Let me double check. Unique Stone has a very unique look to it. The one I had a different kind of finish, which looked more Henry or Fiore. Yeah, I don't see it on Henry. It must have been a Fiore stone or some other. It's so old, you guys. Let's see. So we moved into that house in 2008, and I probably bought it like 2009. So that was like 11 years ago. I don't know who my parents were ordering from at the time other than Fiore and Unique and possibly Henry. I'm not sure. Sorry. Kathy said, I love seeing all of those plants. Would you consider doing a video about the evolution of your townhouse garden? The glimpses in this one were great. I have lots of ideas for next year. I don't know that we could actually do that, Erin, because I would not do garden tours. Like Erin pushed for it and pushed for it, and I wouldn't do it because I was so private about my space. I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, I will show what I want to show. Like, I dug my heels in hard. And it was even hard for me to do the garden tour right before we left, but I'm glad we did it. Aaron said, now, he laughs. I'm glad we did it now. I don't regret not having done other ones, but we didn't, we have pictures throughout the years, like some pictures, but by the time we started our YouTube channel, it was already fully planted. Like, it was fully landscaped already. All of my work in that space had I was done with it essentially, other than maintenance. And then just kind of watching it grow. So we did a lot of smaller DIYs, containers, fairy gardens, succulents, a lot of that kind of thing back then, because I just didn't have the space to experiment with it anymore. So, I mean, yeah, that was kind of a long answer, but yeah, I don't know that we would actually have the footage or the pictures to really capture what we did in that space. And the last video was trimming our birch tree. So we have this huge, I think it must be a Jackmanai birch. I think that's how you pronounce it. That's how I've always heard it's being pronounced. Anyway, it's a triple trunk. It's gorgeous. It grows really fast, and it had just kind of shrouded the right-hand side of our balcony kind of patio area, that side of our house, and it needed its load lightened big time. It was starting to rub on parts of the house, and you couldn't see anything in the flower bed, so it looks a heck of a lot better now. We also cleaned out our gutters. It's kind of an embarrassment. All the things that we showed in that video, I'm like, oh, things are just kind of getting out of hand around here. Rena said, just a quick question. I hope you read this. Do you shred those branches and maybe do a product on a shredder? That will be great. Erin has been looking into shredders. We don't currently shred them because we don't have a shredder. Erin, you said you could get one for the tractor, right?
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm looking at.
Are you looking at that? And then you can shoot it right into our compost bins when they're built. Where Love's at said, odd observation, nothing to do with plants. I noticed that your house lights are on in most of your videos. Are they on a timer? No, they are on because I like them to be on. So I like the way it looks day and night. I think it looks brighter. It looks homey and cozy. They're LEDs. We hardly ever have to change the light bulbs. How often? We've lived here for 4.5 years.
I never have changed them.
And he's never changed them. He swapped, they were incandescents when we moved in. Mm-hmm. He swapped them all out for LEDs, and he's never had to change them one time, and we run them 24/7, and they don't cost hardly anything to run. So yeah, I run them because I think it's pretty. Kelly said, the appearance of both Russell and Cheddar got me to thinking, how is No doing? Is he still hanging around? I've seen him a few times this summer, but it feels like his visits are getting less and less. So I don't know. I see him enough to where I know he's still around, and we still put food out for him. And the other orange cat. Did you know there's a third orange cat?
Is there really?
It looks like a relative to Cheddar.
Wow.
It was out last night. I had on top of our grill. That's where we put our cat food. So we keep it away from the skunks. They can't get on top of the grill. But I had also a little dish with some hollowed out cantaloupe. I was going to go give the rest of it to the chickens in the morning. But the cat must have jumped onto the dish and it knocked it off and made a big loud crash and broke my dish all over the place. But anyway, yeah, it was a different orange cat than the ones we have around currently. So we do not need a third orange cat. Karen said, does anybody else love the upstairs porch? I was wondering where you moved the plow and hearth furniture to. Do you have a room or a hallway that leads to the upstairs porch? Looks beautiful. I love the character of your home. You know, it's a really fun porch to have, except for the fact it is on the east side of our house, so it's better than the west side, getting the afternoon sun. It gets the morning sun, and in the summertime, it's so unbearably hot, even in the summer, like even in the early morning, it is hot. It's like the heat encapsulates right there, and it just doesn't go away. And I walked out, was it like maybe a couple weeks ago? I just needed to shake a blanket off outside, and I stepped on the ground, and it just like burns. It sears the bottom of your feet. So there really isn't a lot of usable time for that spot. Like a couple weeks in the spring and a couple weeks in the fall, it's usable and lovely. And I do like that there's some furniture and stuff up there, so we can utilize it when it's nice, but it does get very hot. Just Me said, am I the only one who thought Laura passed out when she dropped the camera? I think that there were a lot of people who thought either I fell or Erin fell or I passed out or something bad happened. I actually was trying to get my tripod to like sit on the railing a certain way, and it just like slowly. And the last question is from Duncan. When are you going to trim your boxwoods? Well, I was just looking at the weather, and it looks like, so like tomorrow's high, because of all this wind, we have a high of 73. The low for tomorrow night's 37. But then by the end of the week, it's back up to 93. I don't know. I like to wait until it's like solidly in the at least lower 80s and kind of cruising down to the 70s before I trim, because I don't want them to get burned. But I'm worried if I wait too long like we did last year that we'll have that weird cold snap a little bit earlier than normal, and they weren't hardened off to the cold yet, and it just, I don't know if you guys remember, I think we showed the boxwoods what they look like a couple times this spring, and they were so fried on the tops. They looked bad, and they look good right now. So I'm like kind of just weighing my options here, and maybe once it hits like high 80s, because it gets so cool at night and it takes a long time for it to warm in the day, it might be safe to go ahead and do it when it's still in the high 80s. But anyway, hopefully soon, because they're all looking really, really woolly and they need a good trimming. And that's it for today's video, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hope it was helpful, and we will see you in the next one.